Before we reach the lion's den, before the miracle, there is a quieter, more political season of Daniel's life that helps us understand the danger he faced. This is what often gets missed: the story of the court, the jealousy, and the way powerful men can weaponize law against a faithful heart. Daniel had served the Lord faithfully through shifting empires. He served under King Nebuchadnezzar, who came to recognize God's hand in Daniel's life. But kingdoms change, power shifts, new rulers come with new courts, and with them, new tests. After Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Daniel's story continues into the next chapter of history. A new ruler, known in Scripture as Darius the Mede, came to govern the region. Darius reorganized the empire. He appointed governors, satraps, and administrators to manage the vast territory. And Daniel, whose life had already been shaped by faith and by God's favor, was placed among those leaders. His integrity, wisdom, and steady devotion made him stand out. He did not seek power, he simply served well. Yet when a man becomes conspicuously good, envy soon follows. The other officials watched Daniel closely. They searched every corner of his life and found no corruption. He was blameless. But in their jealousy, they looked for something else, something they could use. They could not bring a charge of misconduct against him, for Daniel was beyond reproach. So they turned to what they could control, the law itself. They persuaded the king to issue a royal decree, a law that would look like loyalty to the throne, but which was really a trap for the faithful. It was political genius in a cruel form. Make prayer illegal, and you can indict the conscience of the godly without ever proving sin. The law they crafted read like this: for 30 days, no one was to petition any god or man except the king. The penalty for disobedience? The lion's den. It sounds shocking. It sounds extreme. Yet it is how fear often behaves. It will build a law that looks righteous to cover an unrighteous heart. When the decree was sealed, the game was set, and the men who hated Daniel waited to see if their plan would work. Now comes the turning point. Daniel hears the news. He could have reasoned with himself, I am safe if I am silent. I can survive another day by quiet compromise. But that was not the life he had been trained in. His faith had been formed in small daily acts, the private obedience of turning to God in prayer, morning, noon, and night, 3 times a day. So Daniel did what he had always done. He opened his window toward Jerusalem. He knelt, and he prayed, not loudly to prove a point, but humbly, honestly, faithfully. This is the courage of the ordinary saint. It is not dramatic. It is simply faithfulness in the small things, and faithfulness in small things becomes a fortress in the day of trial. The conspirators watched. Their scheme had worked. They caught Daniel praying, and they reported him to King Darius. The king loved Daniel. He valued his counsel and saw his character. When the news arrived, the king was deeply distressed. He pleaded with the men to find another solution. But there was a terrible logic to the trap. Once a law was signed and sealed by the king, it could not be simply revoked without dishonoring the throne itself. This is a painful moment to watch. A king who wanted to spare a faithful servant found himself bound by the very law he had approved. The king confronted Daniel, asking if the charges were true. Daniel answered truthfully. He had prayed. The king's heart broke. He wished there were a way to save him. Yet the law could not be reversed without setting a dangerous precedent. Out of fear, envy, and stubborn honor, the decree stood.
And so, with sorrow in his voice and trembling in his hands, the king ordered Daniel brought and cast into the den of lions. He said to Daniel, not unkindly, but with the helplessness of a man trapped by his own word, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you."
They rolled the stone, they sealed it, and they left. Silence filled the night. It was the kind of silence that presses against your chest, heavy, expectant, and full of questions. Would God answer? Would the prayers of a faithful life matter in the hour of death? This is exactly the place to stop, the place where faith meets suspense. The prayer warrior has been sealed in the den. The world holds its breath. The hour of testing has come. We'll leave Daniel in the den for now, not because the story ends there, but because the suspense is part of the lesson. Sometimes God's work invites us into the posture of waiting, of hope held in tension. But before we close, hear one more truth. The prayers Daniel prayed through ordinary days were not wasted. They were like treasure stored up in heaven, remembered by God in the day of need. If you're building a life of private prayer, know this: those moments are being counted. They are lining your soul with courage for the night. They become the rails God uses to bring you through. If this part of Daniel's story moved you, like and share so someone else can hold hope tonight. Comment below, "I will pray faithfully," if you will stand with Daniel in the small moments. Subscribe to Naomi D Jesus Daily for the next part, when morning comes and God's answer to the den is revealed. Until then, remember, faith that prays is faith that survives, and the prayers you pray in quiet become the courage you carry in storm.